Aquarius friends, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my Aquarius June 2025 astrology horoscope forecast. I'm calling the theme of this month, Jupiter changes signs. What does that mean for you? And we will go all into where Jupiter is going to be for the next year and what that means in general and specifically for Aquarius. Plus, we have lots more to cover as usual. This is for you if Aquarius is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Aquarius placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. If you're a very late degree Aquarius friend, like birthdays February 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Aquarius through the rest of the sign, I suggest you additionally listen to my Pisces reports, as you very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Okay, so the first thing that's most noteworthy is we have a very big party in Gemini, fellow air sign. Whenever something's going on in the same element, that's always really good for us because it means that the stars are speaking your language. And, that always feels good when things are moving in a nice angle for you. That makes the trine the most favorable angle in all of astrology. And it just has a smoothness that goes along with it. That's exciting. Some of these transits are long-term transits, like Sedna. And Jupiter was there for a year, about to shift signs, which of course we'll talk about soon. But everything else is short-term. The Hygeia, the Sun, Mercury, Venus will get there, but not until next month. But either way, this is, a tremendous amount of Gemini. So what it will bring is activity and motion and social connections and mobility and ideas and communication. It's very busy mentally. It's very busy, communication-wise, and you may have a lot of different social opportunities that you may want to say yes to, because one of the most important things to know about this month is that it is one of the only months we have in all of 2025 where not only all the personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, are going direct and have no shadow periods associated with a recent or upcoming retrograde. And actually all the other planets besides Pluto are also going to be staying direct. So that means this is a time for action. So these ideas that come from this Gemini energy can be pushed into action. The seeds that are being planted from the connections with other people can sprout into actual creations. So this is a very fertile time, and it's also a very important time for making big decisions. Gemini energy might make you vacillate a bit on what it is that you want to do, but it's definitely a time to start taking action on things. Big decisions, small decisions, contracts. There's a lot of support for all of it this month because you don't have the nuisance of those retrograde energies. Plus, the tides are going out. So anything that you launch at this time will go further and wider for longer than if you do it during the time where the planets are retrograde. Teaching and learning and any kinds of taking in of information and putting out of information, where the word is golden, where you're using words through writing or through voice, singing, however it is, words really, really matter now, and they're going to be coming up in a very big way. Now, specifically for Aquarius, when the Gemini energies happen, they happen in your fifth house of Leo, of true love, of romance, of children, of creativity, creative babies, or, your actual babies. Your hobbies and your pleasures and your passions and fun and your bucket list stuff. All of that is so strongly highlighted at this time. So you may have lots of opportunities to do those things. And it is an amazing time to start. You may find the perfect course for something that you wanted to study. You may be ready to teach something that you have been learning. You may be ready to finally go somewhere. And there is some extra special great travel energy in the days around June 11th when we also have that full moon at 20 degrees of Sagittarius, which is also in a nice angle for you. And it's, it's just a time for movement and a time for action and a time for direction. Okay, so Mars has been in or near Leo for a long time with its retrograde cycle. The retrograde cycle started in September of last year, and then we had a deep dive into the energies of Cancer and Leo with this storyline, and we've got just a little bit of time left. It is changing this month into Virgo. And when that happens, this powerful, obsessive border collie energy that has gotten you so focused on your relationships is going to deepen. So you may be going through a discernment process now of who to go deeper with, who you can trust with your next big moves or big decisions, who you're going to collaborate with, who you have to take care of, or who may need help from you, or who you may ask for help from. The 8th house is resources, emotional, financial, spiritual, and Mars is going to get you deeply focused here. You may get, dive deep into a psychological abyss of study, because Mars is actually co-ruled, or actually Scorpio is co-ruled by Mars. So when a planet goes through the sign that it rules, then it is, extra powerful. So there is this obsessive nature to what is going on here. And you may find yourself really focused on legacy topics, wills, birth, death, rebirth, transformation, the phoenix rising from the ashes. This is also a time where you may stumble into some money. You may win money. You may have a lawsuit be finally moving forward. If you've been waiting to start a lawsuit, this is actually the end of May and June is actually the first time astrologically that there have been extra strong favor for lawsuits, because the Mars retrograde, can sometimes boomerang that energy back to you. But now we're out of that. So if you've been waiting to start a lawsuit, this also can be supportive. And if you are already in one, you may see things move along pretty quickly. Venus is going to move into Taurus. And as it does, it's going to light up your 4th house of home and family. So expect things involving money and love and home and housing and real estate to come up in a very big way. You may get super focused on buying or selling a house, and this would be a great month for that. Something else that is very important to know about this month is that we are out of eclipse season now. So the heavy, crazy, life trajectory, life-changing things that happened in March, April, and then into May, are going to start dying down into a new normal. So the changes that came, the stress, the drama, the transitions, we'll start making our way through where these things start to settle more back into the unconscious space, not the conscious space right in front of us. And we start to get on with our lives in the new ways affected by the eclipses. So that's important to know. This is sort of a break month from eclipse cycles. And again, we don't really get that many full break months from eclipse cycles because, life is change and life is movement. And the eclipses, bring things from very deep inside out. And so, we go through cycles every 6 months where we're leading up to the eclipse. We have the eclipse. We're wearing down from the eclipse cycle time. But this month, we have a break. But at the same time, we have a very busy sky. So we have a lot of aspects, almost 30 notable aspects. And I'm not going to go through all 30. I will give you that info. If you go to anniehelpsyou.com, put your name and email address in get the free VIP community access. Then when you get the welcome letter and click on the archive link, just put June 2025 astrology and you'll get my sweet and salty dates list, plus the ones fleshed out that basically my favorite ones and the ones to be most wearful and careful of. And we do actually have 2 long-term outer planet connections that are very meaningful at this time that you'll want to check out there. Okay, but Venus here, in the 4th house can bring the energy of my Grandma Marge. So maybe you know my Grandma Marge if you've been listening to me for a while. I have a lot of Italian relatives. And one of my Italian relatives is my Grandma Marge, and she would always tell me how wonderful I am, kiss me on the face, give me a meatball, just basically everything Venus. Love and support and sustenance and, and just joy. And so when we have that energy move into this house of home and family, you may see more comfort and more sustenance and, all of that come to this energy. And Venus is moving through the sign that she rules, Taurus, or one of the signs she rules, Taurus. So she's comfortable in that space. So there may be, more security, more groundedness, more of an anchor. And maybe you're moving your anchor. This could be a time where you're moving or you're making a decision of where you want to move. But Venus will be there. All right, let's go to the star of the show. This will be short-term and long-term influence as Jupiter changes signs. We have most of the planets changing signs this year. It's highly unusual for that to happen. This is a year of great transition. And I do actually have a separate report on Neptune and Aries. We recently had Neptune move into Aries. Saturn has moved into Aries. And now we're going to have Jupiter move into Cancer. So for everybody, for all signs, for June 2025 to June 2026, we're going to have opportunities to expand our emotional space, our inner world, our roots, our ancestry, housing situations, home, all the things I was talking about with Venus going into the fourth house. You're going to have that energy long term with Jupiter there, the luck and benevolence and expansion and growth, you know, in the home, in the family, in the housing, in the real estate sector. If you were trying to get into real estate business, this could be an amazing time because the sixth house is the house of self-employment. So, or if you are officially employed in that, line of work, Jupiter's presence here can be really, really, really good for your business or anything else related to houses or housing. You know, you could be standing right in front of, a major uptick in your work. So I'm going to talk about some ways you might experience Jupiter in Cancer in the sixth house. The Jupiter in Cancer part is the same for everybody. The Jupiter in the sixth house is unique to Aquarius placements. One thing I'm just going to throw out just a few seconds of explanation for that is something a lot of you may be wondering about is that if you are a sun sign Aquarius, Jupiter is moving through your sixth house in your solar chart. If you try to match up looking for Jupiter in your sixth house in your natal transit, it will not line up unless you also have Aquarius rising, okay? Because when you're watching a report for a sun sign, the chart we're using for you is a solar chart. A solar chart's different than a natal chart. That's why I always tell people to watch the report for your sun sign and your rising sign. If you want to see Jupiter match up with where Jupiter's in your transit chart, then you'll see that happen in your ascendant reading. But that doesn't mean one is right and one is wrong. These are two different, I like to call them windows, out of the same building, which is you and your experience. Similar to if you look out one window, you see a stream, and you look out the other window and see a parking lot. You as the person inside that house, seeing the stream, that's part of your experience. You see the parking lot, that's part of your experience. One of them is not negated just because of the presence of the other. They're complex factors that add to a totality of an experience. And that is the same thing that watching for a sun sign by using this as a solar chart and watching for a rising sign will add to this dimension. So I don't usually explain this publicly. I do have information about this in my Secret Star portal. And if you love to learn details like that, definitely go to beastropro.com, and register for my astrology certification course, because that's the kind of thing that I can help you understand about astrology that answers those questions where it's like, hey, wait a minute, why doesn't my this match up with this? Anyway, so I just wanted to tell you that, because if you are following along with your transit chart, unless you have Aquarius rising also, and you're watching for your sun Aquarius, Jupiter won't be in your sixth house. It will be in the house that's true to your natal. Okay. Now, all of that being said, let's talk about the ways that Aquarius might experience Jupiter in Cancer. Let's talk about things you should definitely do during this month and this year for this transit. And I want to talk about things to understand to make the most of this transit. Okay, so some ways, I already started to allude to this. You might find or experience or be magnetic to work opportunities that are going to nourish you. New roles, projects, responsibilities that may arise that can feel emotionally meaningful, because Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, which is emotional. You also may have opportunities to work from home because Jupiter rules the house. You may have improved health through emotional healing. You may have wellness upgrades. You may have, and that's going to be through tending to your emotional body. You may have your best schedule yet, where it takes into consideration you as an emotional being. When we learn about scheduling when we're kids, I don't know about y'all, but for me, there was anywhere was it discussed in my life to make any room for my emotional world at all, ever. It was the get up super early, make your lunch, get yourself to the bus, come back with your key around your neck to an empty house and make your dinner and do all of this stuff. There was none of that. So If you're in that zone where you were taught that, you may have to reteach yourself some things by going through profound healing, which Jupiter can give you at this time. If you've been blessed with parents who have taught you to honor your emotional space, then you may see a next level experience of this, where your nutrition routines, your self-care can bring huge results. And if you've been battling with something health-wise, you could find that you either have an exacerbation that shows you what the problem is, or the breakthroughs for healing. You may also notice that you have more responsibility, but those responsibilities may be very satisfying. You may be asked more of you in work or service, but it's likely to bring recognition or create more stability in the long run. You may also notice that you have a more soulful day, where your routines may shift towards this greater comfort, rhythm, and harmony, like cozy rituals. Like right now I have my tea next to me. I've been recording horoscopes for a very long time. For 12 years, I've showed up every month and then some. And I get my whole routine ready before I come and connect with you all. And those kind of things, cozy rituals, nourishing meals, gentle productivity that honors you as a sentient being, all of that is what can come from this space or this transit. You may also notice that you're healing through helping others. This house of Virgo that it's going through, it's the sign of Cancer for Aquarius, but it's the house of Virgo, can have a lot to do with serving others or supporting a cause or caring for pets. You may notice you have more pets. And if you're a person who's like, oh gosh, don't need more pets. I know myself, I have 5. And if I were an Aquarius, my husband would be quaking in his boots because he would not want me to get more pets during this transit. But surprise for him, I actually have my moon pretty much in Aquarius. So we'll see how that goes, right? Anyway, so yeah, you may see things go on with your animals. And they may multiply. That pet you thought was a male could turn out to have babies. So watch it. All right, some things you should definitely do during this transit. Refine that daily routine into what feels good to you. Say yes to opportunities that have to do with your self-care. Create sustainable life. Things that are just too overwhelming or just too much. Find ways to cut those out or make them more reasonable. Help people from your heart and not obligation. This is something else that Virgo energy, the higher version of it, is to really find the ways that you can be helpful that feel good to you and not just because you have to do them. And of course, organizing and decluttering and making your space really, really work for your soul, basically. Some things to remember during this month and this year is that the small stuff really is sacred. Simple living, those routines that we have where you get up and you read the paper or whatever it is that you do, those mundane details of life, the meals, the chores, the habits, are the very ground where your joy and expansion can take root. And they are a lot of the things that we remember having been ingrained every day. So we can make the most of them, and you have a new opportunity to freshen that up at this time. Also, work and health are deeply interconnected. Very important to remember that at this time because stress affects the body affects the wellness, and you can drastically improve your productivity by doing better. I also, having had a corporate job and then running my own business on the side and going to school on the side of all of that, remember, having it ingrained in me. And I know that my parents, ingrained this in me, that you basically have to just work, and now I know differently, but that was the consciousness. And, it's really, really important to remember that overgiving is a trap. Give from your whole space, and this transit can help you to do that. And also that, you have nothing really, you can't do much without your health. So whatever you have to do to get your health situated is going to be the focus at this time. Last note I'm going to leave you with for this transit is that your energy is currency. Protect it, invest it, build routines that feed it, and not drain it. All right, I'm going to give you a couple of dates. If you like the dates, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, put your name and email address in for the VIP community access that is free. When you get the welcome letter, click on the archive link and put June 2025 astrology in, and you will get my sweet and salty dates. So if you like the dates, you'll get more of them when you go in there, but I'll give you a few. June 9th, Jupiter officially in Cancer. I usually see the energetics of Jupiter moving the sign start to show up at least 3 months before. So you may have been experiencing the energy of expansion in Cancer, home, family, housing, and the 6th house where it's moving for you. For the last few months, but now it will be officially there June 9th. June 11th, we've got a full moon at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. This may send you packing to a very wonderful foreign place or someplace far away, or it may have you starting a new education program or starting to teach or learn a language. June 25th, we've got the new moon in Cancer, new possibilities for all of that Cancer space that's being opened up. If you want to learn astrology, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com, see my astrology certification course. If you want personalized reports from me, I'm not doing readings anymore, but I do have these great reports on a couple of different topics, including an outer planet transit report. We don't get to talk a lot about, I talked about Jupiter in this report, but a lot of times, since they don't change signs very often, we don't really cover that a lot in horoscopes because we focus what's different this month. But if you want to see where the outer planets are and how they can help you and what lessons you're supposed to be learning, go to anniebclarity.com and get your personalized outer planet transit report from me. And I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Okay, bye.